The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the New Horizon. Captain Sarah stared at the readings on her screen and felt her heart sink. The massive colony ship was dying around her, and 300,000 people were going to die with it. "Engine core is completely gone," reported Engineer Martinez, his voice tight with fear. "The explosion damaged half our systems. Life support is failing on decks 12 through 30. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. The New Horizon was humanity's pride, their biggest colony ship ever built. It carried families, children, scientists, and dreamers all heading to a new world called Haven. They had been so close to their destination when everything went wrong. "How long do we have?" Sarah asked. 48 hours, maybe less," Martinez said. "The backup systems are burning out faster than we can fix them." Dr. Williams, the ship's medical officer, looked up from her tablet. "We have 17,000 children on this ship, Captain. The elderly and sick won't last 12 hours in the cold." Sarah felt the weight of every life pressing down on her shoulders. The nearest human ship was 3 weeks away. No one could reach them in time. She had sent emergency signals to every frequency she knew, but space was vast and empty. Most alien species ignored human distress calls anyway. Humanity was still new to space travel, still learning how the galaxy worked. "Keep trying to reach someone," Sarah ordered. "Anyone." Hours passed. The temperature on the ship dropped as the heating systems failed. People huddled together in the main halls, sharing blankets and trying to stay warm. Parents held their children close. The elderly sat quietly, knowing they would be the first to go. Sarah walked through the corridors and saw the fear in everyone's eyes. She had to stay strong for them, but inside she felt helpless. She was the captain, responsible for everyone, and she was failing them. "Captain," the communication officer's voice crackled over the speakers. "We're getting a response." Sarah ran to the bridge. On the main screen appeared a face unlike any human had ever seen. The being had large, gentle eyes and pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. When it spoke, its voice was calm and musical. "Human vessel New Horizon, this is Captain of the Commonwealth ship. We received your distress signal. What is your situation?" Sarah's hands shook as she activated the communication system. "Captain, we have engine failure. Our life support is dying. We have 300,000 people, including children. We need immediate evacuation." Captain's large eyes widened with concern. 300,000. That is a great number. Our ship can only carry 50,000 safely. Sarah felt her hope crashing down again. "I understand. Thank you for responding." "Wait," Captain said quickly. "I did not say we would not help. The Commonwealth has 6 ships in this system. We are studying the solar storms here. It will be dangerous for our ships to approach you, but we will not let your people die." Over the next few hours, Sarah watched something she had never expected to see. The ships worked together like a perfect team. They moved through dangerous space storms to reach the New Horizon. Their ships were not built for rescue operations, but they made room anyway. They shared their own food with the humans. They gave up their personal quarters to house human families. Captain himself donated rare medical equipment to save human children who were badly hurt. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah asked Captain as they watched the evacuation continue. "You don't know us. We have no agreement between our peoples." Captain looked at her with those kind, large eyes. "In space, we are all travelers. When travelers are in trouble, you help them. It is the right thing to do." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "How can we ever repay this?" "You do not need to repay anything," Captain said. "Help someone else when they need it. That is payment enough." But Sarah knew that wasn't true. They were risking their own lives and ships. They were using their medical supplies on humans instead of keeping them for their own people. Some families were sleeping in cargo holds so human children could have warm beds. Dr. Williams approached Sarah with a report. "Captain, the medical technology is incredible. They saved children we thought were going to die. Their doctors have been working for 20 hours straight to help our people." Sarah watched a medic carefully treating a human baby while the baby's mother cried with relief. The medic's hands glowed with a soft light as he worked, and the baby's breathing became easier. "They're not just saving our lives," Sarah said quietly. "They're treating us like family." The evacuation took 3 days. The ships became overcrowded, but no one complained. Human and children played together in the corridors. Adults shared meals and tried to communicate despite the language barriers. When it was over, every single human life had been saved. The New Horizon was a dead shell floating in space, but its people were alive and safe. Captain refused any payment. "Friendship cannot be bought," he said, "but it can be earned through kindness." As the ships prepared to take the humans to the nearest space station, Sarah made a promise. She looked Captain in the eyes and spoke words that would be remembered across the galaxy. "Humanity will never forget what you've done for us. Never. If you ever need help anywhere in the universe, we will come. That's a promise from every human alive today." Captain smiled, a gentle expression that lit up his face. "I believe you, Captain, I believe you." The humans were taken to safety. News of the rescue spread quickly through human space. Every human colony, every human ship, every human family heard about the who risked everything to save strangers. Sarah kept detailed records of every who helped. She made sure their names were known on every human world. In human schools, children learned about Captain and his people who proved that kindness existed in the cold darkness of space. The debt was recorded not in credits or trade agreements, but in something deeper. It was written in human hearts and would never be forgotten. 5 years had passed since the rescue of the New Horizon. In that time, humanity had grown stronger than anyone expected. The saved colonists had not forgotten their second chance at life. They worked harder, built faster, and dreamed bigger than ever before. Captain Sarah, now Admiral, stood on the bridge of Earth's ship, the Gift. Every human ship built since the rescue carried the name of a hero. It was humanity's way of making sure the galaxy never forgot who had saved them. "Admiral," called Lieutenant from the communications station. "We're receiving a priority message from space. It's marked urgent." Sarah's heart jumped. The rarely called for help. They were peaceful scholars who preferred to solve problems with research and patience. If they were sending urgent messages, something terrible was happening. The main screen flickered to life, showing an older captain. His once bright blue skin looked pale and tired. His large eyes held worry that Sarah had never seen before. "Admiral, my old friend," said, his musical voice heavy with sadness. "I hope this message finds you well. I am sorry to disturb you, but our people face a crisis we cannot solve alone." Sarah leaned forward. "Tell me what's wrong, Captain. Whatever it is, we'll help." "Our star is dying," said simply. "Our scientists discovered it 3 months ago. The star that has warmed for millions of years is becoming unstable. It will explode in less than 2 years." The bridge fell silent. Sarah felt cold fear in her stomach. There was home to 80 million people. Their greatest libraries, their ancient temples, their cultural treasures, everything would be destroyed. "We have begun evacuation efforts," continued. "But we have so few ships suitable for long journeys. Our vessels are built for research, not for moving populations. At our current rate, we can only save 20 million of our people." Sarah was already moving before finished speaking. "Get me every human fleet commander in the galaxy. Emergency conference in 10 minutes. Admiral said, "I know humanity has its own needs. We are not asking for charity. We can pay for passage, we can work, we can." "Captain," Sarah interrupted, "did you charge us for saving our lives 5 years ago?" Looked surprised. "Of course not, you were in trouble, we helped because it was right." "Then don't insult us by talking about payment," Sarah said firmly. "Your family helps family." Within hours, every human colony had received the emergency message. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Ship captains volunteered their vessels. Colonies emptied their warehouses of supplies. Families opened their homes to refugees they had never met. Dr. Williams, now the head of Human Colonial Medical Services, organized the largest medical operation in human history. "Every saved human lives 5 years ago," she told her staff. "Now we save theirs." The evacuation fleet that assembled was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 3,000 human ships of every size and type. Colony ships, cargo vessels, luxury liners, even personal family boats. If it could carry people through space, it was volunteering for the mission. Admiral led the fleet personally. When they arrived at space, the sight of their dying star broke her heart. The once bright yellow sun flickered and pulsed with angry red light. Solar storms lashed out unpredictably, making space travel dangerous. "Captain," Sarah said as they met aboard his ship, "we're not just here to evacuate your people. We're here to save everything we can." "Everything?" asked. "Your libraries, your art, your culture, your history. We have cargo ships that can carry entire buildings if we need to. Nothing important will be left behind." The evacuation was massive and beautiful. Human and crews worked together as if they had been partners for centuries. Human engineers quickly learned technology. Scholars taught human children about their culture during the long flights to safety. The humans had found the perfect new world for a planet with 3 moons and vast oceans, perfect for their water-loving species. But they didn't just drop the refugees off and leave. Human construction teams helped build new cities. They shared their best technology freely. They established trade routes that would benefit for generations to come. What had started as a rescue mission became the foundation of the strongest friendship between 2 species in galactic history. Commander Martinez, now in charge of the construction efforts, supervised the building of New Zephyr's capital city. "We're not just building houses," he told his teams. "We're building a new home for the people who gave us hope when we had none." The project took 2 years. When it was complete, New Zephyr was more beautiful than the original had ever been. The humans had built it with love and gratitude, creating gardens that sang with water, music, and libraries that rivaled any in the galaxy. At the dedication ceremony, Captain stood before crowds of both species. He was older now, his blue skin marked with the silver patterns that showed advanced age in his people, but his eyes were bright with joy. "5 years ago, we saved human lives because it was the right thing to do," he said to the gathered crowds. "We never expected anything in return, but humanity has given us something more precious than we could have imagined. They have given us a new world, a new future, and most importantly, they have shown us that kindness creates bonds stronger than any treaty." Admiral stood beside him, watching human and children playing together in the new parks. "You saved us when we were dying in the cold of space," she said. "Now we've helped you build something better than what you lost." "We are no longer 2 separate species," announced to the cheering crowds. "We are family. What hurts one of us hurts both of us. What threatens one of us threatens both of us." Later that evening, as the celebration continued, Admiral walked with Captain through the new city's gardens. Water sang softly around them, and bioluminescent flowers provided gentle light. "Sarah," said, using her first name as he often did now, "the Galactic Council has been watching what happened here. They are amazed by humanity's response to our crisis." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "Most species view favors as transactions. You do something, I owe you something, debt is paid, relationship ends. But humans paused and smiled. Humans treated our rescue of you not as a debt to be paid, but as the beginning of a bond to be treasured." Sarah nodded. "That's just who we are, Captain. When someone shows us kindness, they become part of our family forever." "The galaxy is beginning to understand that about your people," said. "Some find it wonderful, others find it concerning. As they walked, both leaders knew that humanity had announced something important to the universe. They had shown that humans didn't just remember kindness. They treasured it, protected it, and would do anything to preserve it. The message was clear to anyone watching. Befriend humanity, and you gain protectors who will move mountains for you. But hidden in that promise was an equally important warning that the galaxy had not yet fully understood. 10 years after the Great Rescue, the galaxy was changing. New powers were rising, and old balances were shifting. In the far reaches of space, the hegemony had been watching and waiting. They ruled over 40 systems with an iron fist and wanted more. Supreme Commander stood in the war room of his flagship, the Dominion. His skin was covered in the ritual scars that showed his rank, and his 4 eyes studied the star charts with cold calculation. The hegemony had perfected the art of conquest through careful planning and overwhelming force. "The systems," he said to his officers, pointing at the display, "rich in rare minerals, weak defenses, perfect location for our eastern expansion." "Sir," said Colonel, "intelligence reports show they have formed some kind of alliance with the humans. Should we be concerned?" His laugh was harsh and bitter. "Humans, the species that couldn't even save themselves 15 years ago. They're miners and farmers, not warriors. They pose no threat to the hegemony." The plan was elegant in its cruelty. They never attacked directly at first. Instead, they slowly strangled their targets with economic warfare, cyber attacks, and sponsored piracy. By the time their fleets arrived, their victims were already broken and desperate. The campaign against them began quietly. Trade routes became dangerous as pirates appeared from nowhere. Computer systems failed mysteriously. Supply shipments disappeared in space. The peaceful found themselves under attack from enemies they couldn't see or understand. Captain, now the senior diplomatic officer for New Zephyr, called an emergency meeting of his council. He was much older now, his blue skin almost silver with age, but his mind was still sharp. "The attacks are too organized to be random," reported Defense Coordinator Ova. "Someone is paying these pirates and providing them with military-grade weapons." "Our computer experts found traces of code in the cyber attacks," added Chief Technician. "They're trying to make us look weak to the Galactic Council." Closed his large eyes and felt the weight of responsibility. The Commonwealth had always survived through knowledge and diplomacy. They had built beautiful cities and amazing technology, but they were not warriors. Even with human-provided defenses, they were not prepared for this kind of systematic assault. "Should we call Earth?" asked Ova. "Not yet," said. "This is our problem to solve. Humanity has already given us so much." But the situation grew worse quickly. Pirate attacks increased. Critical infrastructure systems failed daily. Food shipments were intercepted and medical supplies disappeared. The hegemony was slowly crushing the Commonwealth without ever officially declaring war. The breaking point came when pirates attacked a school ship returning from a cultural exchange with human colonies. 47 children died in the attack. Among them was youngest granddaughter, who had been learning about human art and music. That night sat alone in his study, holding a drawing his granddaughter had made of human and children playing together. His old hands shook as he activated his personal communication device. "Sarah," he said when Admiral's face appeared on the screen. "My friend, I fear I must ask for help." Admiral was now Supreme Admiral of the Human Defense Forces. Her hair was, and lines of responsibility marked her face, but her eyes still held the same determination they had shown 20 years ago during the New Horizon crisis. "What's wrong?" she asked, immediately noting the pain in his voice. "We are under attack," said simply. "Not openly, but we are dying slowly. Pirates funded by the hegemony are destroying our trade. Our children are being killed." Sarah's expression grew cold. "How many children?" 47 in the latest attack, including my granddaughter." voice broke slightly. She was returning from Earth colonies, excited to share what she had learned about human music. The silence on the communication channel lasted for several heartbeats. When Admiral spoke again, her voice was deadly quiet. "Are you asking for Earth's protection?" Yes. I am sorry to burden you with our troubles, but—" "Stop," Sarah interrupted. "Don't apologize, your family. Attack one of us and you attack all of us." Within hours, the Human Federation had called an emergency session of their High Council. Representatives from every human colony attended the meeting, either in person or through quantum communication links. Admiral stood before the assembly and told them about the attack on the school ship. She showed them pictures of the children who had died, including little with her drawing of human friendship. 20 years ago, when we were dying in space, they risked everything to save us, Sarah said. They didn't know us. They had no treaty with us. They saved us because it was the right thing to do. The council chamber was silent. Every human present remembered the story of the New Horizon. It was taught in every school, told in every family. "Now someone thinks they can slowly murder our friends and we won't notice," Sarah continued. "Someone believes humans won't fight to protect those who protected us." The vote was unanimous. The Terran Federation officially declared the Commonwealth to be under human protection. Any attack on territory would be considered an attack on human space. When news of the declaration reached hegemony space, Supreme Commander was amused rather than concerned. He called his senior staff to discuss the human interference. "They have no warships worthy of the name," he told his officers. "Their military exists to protect mining colonies from raiders. They've never fought a real war." "Should we be concerned about their numbers?" asked Colonel. "Intelligence suggests they have over 3,000 ships spread across their territories." "Cargo haulers and passenger vessels, dismissed. We have 800 true warships. Quality defeats quantity." The hegemony's response came in the form of an official message to Earth. Supreme Commander appeared on the communication screen, his face displaying obvious contempt. "Human leaders," he said, his voice heavy with disdain. "The hegemony claims the systems by right of expansion. Withdraw your protection or we will remove it for you." The human response was delivered personally by Admiral. She stood alone on the bridge of this gift, wearing her formal uniform with the medals that represented humanity's greatest achievements. "Supreme Commander," she said, looking directly into the camera. 20 years ago, they saved 300,000 human lives when they had no reason to help us. They treated our children when their own needed medicine. They shared their food when their own families went hungry." Sarah paused, and when she continued, her voice carried the weight of absolute conviction. "You can have their systems when you pry them from our dead hands." The communication ended. Across human space, fleet commanders received new orders. Civilian ships were recalled to defended systems. Military vessels moved toward space. The largest mobilization in human history was beginning. On New Zephyr, Captain watched human ships arrive in his system and felt both gratitude and sadness. He was grateful for the protection, but sad that his problems had brought the possibility of war. "Admiral," he said over the communication link, "I hope this does not bring great suffering to your people." Sarah replied, "You gave us hope when we had none. You saved our children when they were dying. Whatever comes next, we face it together." The galaxy was about to discover something that the hegemony had failed to understand. Humanity didn't just remember those who helped them. They were willing to go to war for them. The attack came without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. Research Station Harmony was a joint human facility dedicated to studying peaceful applications of quantum technology. Scientists from both species worked side by side. Their children attended the station school together, and their families had formed the kind of close bonds that made the galaxy a better place. Dr. Elizabeth was in the middle of teaching a combined class of human and children about stellar formation when the station's alarms began blaring. Through the large viewing window, she could see massive ships dropping out of hyperspace. "Children, move away from the windows," Doctor said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Emergency Protocol 7. The hegemony warships opened fire immediately. They didn't send warnings. They didn't demand surrender. They simply began destroying the station section by section, broadcasting the attack live across galactic communication networks. In the station's command center, Commander David Park watched his screens in horror as weapons tore through the research labs and residential areas. "Get me Earth Command," he ordered. "Emergency channel." "Sir," reported Lieutenant, "they're jamming our communications. We can't reach anyone." The attack was swift and brutal. The hegemony ships targeted the station's weakest points, ensuring maximum casualties with minimum effort. This wasn't military strategy. This was a demonstration designed to show the galaxy what happened to those who opposed expansion. Captain's daughter, Doctor, was in the medical bay when the hull breach alarm sounded. She was treating a human child who had broken his arm in the playground when the station shook violently. Emergency barriers slammed down, trapping her section. "Doctor," called Nurse Harrison, "we have wounded coming in from Section 7. Worked desperately to save lives as the station died around her. Human and medical staff worked together, trying to treat injuries that were beyond their capabilities. When the power failed and the artificial gravity fluctuated, they held injured patients steady with their own hands." The attack lasted 47 minutes. When it was over, Research Station Harmony was a twisted wreck floating in space. 7,000 people had died, including 600 children. Among the dead was Doctor, who had remained at her post trying to save wounded humans until the medical bay lost atmosphere. Supreme Commander broadcast the attack footage across the galaxy with a simple message: "This is the fate of all who stand with humans against the hegemony." The news reached Earth 18 hours later. Admiral Sarah was in a planning meeting when her aide rushed in with the emergency communication. "Ma'am," Lieutenant said, his voice shaking, "Research Station Harmony has been destroyed. Total casualties estimated at 7,000. Commander Park transmitted this before communications were lost." The recording showed Commander Park's final message, broadcast just before the station's command center was destroyed. His face was covered in blood, but his voice was steady. "This is Commander Park of Research Station Harmony. We are under unprovoked attack by hegemony forces. They are targeting civilian areas and children's schools. Doctor died saving human patients. Tell Admiral, tell her we held the line." The recording ended. The room fell silent except for the soft sound of Sarah's breathing. When she finally spoke, her voice was quietly terrifying. "Get me every fleet commander. Get me the President. Get me the Galactic Council, now." The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos. Representatives from dozens of species argued about proper responses and diplomatic solutions. Some suggested economic sanctions. Others proposed formal protests. The hegemony representative, Ambassador Hun, sat calmly through the discussions. When called upon to speak, he was dismissive. "The station was in disputed territory," he said with obvious boredom. "Hegemony forces were defending their claim. Casualties were unfortunate but inevitable." "Inevitable." The voice from the human delegation was cold and controlled. Admiral rose from her seat. She wore her formal uniform, but her decorations had been replaced with two small items: a child's drawing and a piece of twisted metal from Research Station Harmony. "Ambassador Hun," she said, 600 children died on that station. Human children learning alongside children. Children who drew pictures of human friends." "War has casualties," Hun replied with a shrug. "Perhaps humans should not place their children in disputed space." The silence in the council chamber was absolute. When Admiral spoke again, her words would be quoted in history books for generations to come. Ambassador, let me explain something to you about humans. We don't see borders the way you do. We don't see territorial disputes or expansion rights or strategic advantages. She held up the child's drawing, showing crayon stick figures of different species holding hands. We see a 7-year-old girl named A who died in your pirate attack because she was excited to share human music with her family. We see Doctor, who could have evacuated but stayed to save human patients until the air ran out of her lungs. The council remained silent. Every representative understood they were witnessing something unprecedented. You could have conquered 100 worlds and we would have watched from our systems, Admiral continued. You could have enslaved 1,000 species and we would have minded our own business. But you made this personal when you decided to murder our friends. Are you threatening the hegemony? Ambassador Hun asked, his voice showing the first hint of concern. I'm explaining to you why what happens next is your fault, Admiral replied. 20 years ago, they saved 300,000 human lives. They didn't know us. They didn't owe us anything. They just saw people in trouble and helped because it was the right thing to do. She placed the piece of station wreckage on the podium. Yesterday, you killed Doctor while she was saving human children. You broadcast it across the galaxy like entertainment. You made it clear that anyone who stands with humans will suffer. The human admiral looked directly at Ambassador Hun. So let me make something equally clear to you. The hegemony has 3 options. 1. Withdraw completely from space and pay reparations for the families you've destroyed. 2. Face the consequences of making humanity angry. 3. Pray to whatever gods you believe in. That option 2 goes better for you than I think it will. The hegemony does not negotiate with inferior species, Hun said, standing from his chair. Then you've chosen option 2, Admiral said calmly. What happened next shocked the galactic community. The human delegation didn't storm out. They didn't make threats. Admiral simply activated her communication device. Admiral to all human forces, she said, her words broadcast live across the galaxy. Operation is authorized, full deployment, no restrictions. Ambassador Hun laughed. Empty threats from a species that builds cargo haulers, not warships. Ambassador, Admiral said as she prepared to leave, you're about to discover that humans have been building a lot more than cargo haulers. As the human delegation left the council chamber, emergency reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Human ships were moving everywhere at once. Not hundreds of ships, as the hegemony had expected, but thousands. Supreme Commander received the intelligence reports in his war room aboard the Dominion. As he read them, his confidence began to crack. Sir, reported Colonel, our scouts are detecting massive human fleet movements. They have at least 2,000 warships moving toward our borders. Impossible, said. Our intelligence clearly shows they have fewer than 300 military vessels. Sir, those cargo haulers and colony ships are carrying military-grade weapons. They've been disguising warships as civilian vessels for years. Stared at the tactical displays showing human fleets converging from every direction. For the first time in his career, he felt something he had never experienced before: uncertainty. How many ships total? He asked quietly. Sir, we've identified over 5,000 vessels of various classes, and they're still coming. In her quarters aboard this gift, Admiral stood before a memorial wall showing pictures of everyone who had died at Research Station Harmony. Human and faces looked back at her, reminding her why this war was necessary. Captain, she said into her communication device, tell your people to stay in protected systems. What comes next isn't going to be pretty. Sarah, the aged voice replied, is war truly the only option? They killed your daughter while she was saving our children, Admiral said softly. They broadcast it for entertainment. They made sure the galaxy knows that being friends with humans is dangerous. She touched Doctor's picture on the memorial wall. We're going to make sure the galaxy also knows what happens to anyone who hurts our friends. The first battle of the war lasted 17 minutes. The hegemony expected a long, strategic conflict between organized fleets. Instead, they encountered something that every military doctrine in the galactic database. Supreme Commander watched from the bridge of the Dominion as human ships poured out of hyperspace around his forward fleet. But these weren't fighting like any military he had ever faced. Human ships were ramming hegemony vessels at full speed, their pilots screaming battle cries over open channels. "Sir," Colonel shouted over the chaos, "the Crimson Blade has been destroyed by a human cargo ship. The pilot rammed us deliberately." "That's impossible," said. "No military would waste ships like that." But the impossible was happening everywhere. Human captains were sacrificing their vessels to take down hegemony ships twice their size. They fought like beings defending their young, not soldiers following orders. Captain Maria Santos was aboard the human cruiser New Dawn when hegemony fighters broke through their defensive screen. Instead of retreating, she ordered her ship directly into the path of the enemy fighters. "This is for Research Station Harmony," she broadcast as her ship exploded, taking 12 hegemony fighters with it. The pattern repeated across the battlefield. Human pilots ejected from damaged ships only to use personal thruster packs to reach hegemony vessels, carrying explosives. Human Marines boarded enemy ships with a fury that terrified experienced warriors. "They fight like animals," reported one surviving hegemony captain. "No strategy, no formation, just rage." But Admiral knew better. This wasn't mindless anger. This was humanity showing the galaxy what they became when someone hurt their family. "Admiral," reported Commander Martinez from this gift, "hegemony forces are retreating from the border. We're receiving surrender requests from their forward fleet." Admiral said coldly, "They wanted to show the galaxy what happens to human friends. Now we show the galaxy what happens to human enemies." The war escalated rapidly. Hegemony reinforcements arrived, expecting to face a demoralized human fleet. Instead, they found something that made their greatest warriors question their career choices. The human fleet had changed tactics. They were no longer just ramming ships. They were using technology that shouldn't have existed. Human vessels were disappearing and reappearing behind hegemony lines. Human weapons were punching through shields that should have been impenetrable. "How is this possible?" demanded as reports flooded in from across the battlefield. Dr. Sarah, the human fleet's chief scientist, provided the answer during a broadcast that reached the entire galaxy. She stood in a laboratory filled with technology that looked like science fiction. "For 20 years, humanity has been preparing for this day," she announced. "Not because we wanted war, but because we knew that someday someone would try to hurt those who saved us." Behind her, massive displays showed human ships using weapons that bent space itself. Hegemony vessels were being crushed by artificial gravity fields. Others were being torn apart by directed energy beams that existed only in theoretical physics. "Every human colony has been working on this project," Doctor continued. "Every human scientist, every engineer, every researcher. We call it the protocol, named for the captain who showed us that the universe contained kindness." The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity revealed technology that was decades ahead of anything else in known space. But the true horror was still coming. "The hegemony wanted to destroy those who helped us," Doctor said. "So we're going to show them what we do to people who hurt our friends." The first demonstration came at the hegemony colony world of. 3 billion hegemony citizens watched their star begin to flicker and dim. Human ships had somehow destabilized the fusion reactions that powered their sun. Supreme Commander received the human transmission while evacuating his own. Admiral appeared on his screen, standing in what looked like a command center filled with impossible technology. "Commander," she said, her voice calm and deadly, "you wanted to show the galaxy that being friends with humans was dangerous. So we're showing the galaxy what being enemies with humans looks like." "You're threatening to destroy stars?" asked, his voice cracking with fear. "We're not threatening anything," Admiral replied. "3 of your core worlds are watching their stars die right now. Your people have 72 hours to evacuate before the fusion reactions collapse completely." The evacuation of 3 entire worlds was chaos beyond description. Billions of hegemony citizens fled their homes as their suns grew dim and cold. Human ships watched from a distance, making no move to interfere with the evacuation, but ensuring that everyone understood the message. "This is for Dr." Admiral broadcast to the fleeing hegemony fleets. "She died saving human children while your forces laughed." The Galactic Council called for immediate peace negotiations. Representatives from across the galaxy begged both sides to step back from the edge of destruction, but the hegemony's pride would not let them surrender. "We do not negotiate with inferior species," Ambassador Hun declared, even as his own evacuated around him. Admiral's response was simple: "Then watch your capital star die." The attack on the hegemony capital system was different. Instead of destabilizing the star, human ships surrounded it with devices that began draining its energy. The star didn't flicker and die, it was slowly devoured by human technology. Supreme Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship as it grew dark and cold. For the first time in his life, he felt true defeat. The hegemony had built an empire on fear and overwhelming force, but humanity had shown them something worse than defeat. They had shown them irrelevance. "Sir," Colonel said quietly, "the capital's population is in complete evacuation. The government is requesting immediate surrender terms." Closed his 4 eyes. "Contact Admiral, unconditional surrender." The final meeting took place aboard the human command ship's Gift. Supreme Commander, once the most feared military leader in the galaxy, sat across from Admiral in a room decorated with pictures from Research Station Harmony. "Your terms?" asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Complete withdrawal from all systems," Admiral said. "Full reparations for every family harmed by your forces, and a formal apology to be broadcast across the galaxy. And if we agree, we will restore your stars and leave you alone," Admiral said. "But understand this, humanity will remember what you did. If the hegemony ever again harms those under our protection, we won't just kill your stars. We'll make your entire species extinct." Looked at the photos on the walls, showing humans and who had died because of his orders. "Why show mercy now?" "Because," Admiral said, 20 years ago, Captain taught us that mercy is what separates good people from monsters. We won't become monsters even to fight them." The war ended with the Treaty of New Zephyr. The hegemony agreed to all human terms and slowly rebuilt their shattered empire far from space. Their stars were restored, but the memory of their dimming would never fade. Captain, now ancient and frail, stood with Admiral on the observation deck of the space station, built where Research Station Harmony had once been. The new station was called Hope Memorial, and it served as both a research facility and a reminder. "The galaxy has learned 2 things about humans," said, his voice weak but proud. "You will cross the universe to help a friend, and you will move stars to avenge one." Admiral nodded, watching human and children play together in the station's gardens. "Some debts can never be repaid, Captain. They can only be honored. And some friendships," added, "are worth shattering planets to protect." The memorial wall in the station's central plaza bore a simple inscription: "To those who showed kindness to strangers in the void, and to those who proved that some bonds are stronger than stars." Below it, in smaller text, was humanity's promise to the galaxy: "Attack our friends, and learn why humans make the stars themselves into weapons. The universe was a safer place for the innocent and a terrifying place for those who would harm them. Humanity had shown that they were capable of both infinite kindness and infinite wrath, often in response to the same event. Years later, when young beings across the galaxy learned about relations, they learned the story of Research Station Harmony and the war that followed. The lesson was always the same. In a universe full of dangers, it was better to be humanity's friend than their enemy. The stars themselves had become witnesses to the simple truth that kindness, once given freely, would be protected absolutely. And the galaxy was better for it, even if some had learned that lesson the hard way.